friends. No Dave today. He is probably still celebrating in Maui. No. Not celebrating anymore. New day, new opponent. Day 2 of Maui. Tigers, a massive win yesterday over UConn. We're going to talk a lot about that. Bryant and Darian with you today, and as well, we'll be with you tomorrow as well. But Tigers, the win yesterday over UConn. It was the first game of what was a thrilling day of Maui basketball. We'll kind of break down and talk about all of the games that we saw yesterday in Maui, because for better or for worse, they all matter to the Memphis Tigers and maybe who they'll see certainly today with that Colorado-Michigan State game, but then who they could see tomorrow with those later games. So we'll talk about those, but we got to start with the Memphis Tigers and what they did yesterday. It started the day. It was a 1:30 tip-off our time, which meant 9:30 a.m. in Maui. And look, we talked about it yesterday, Darian.
We claimed it yesterday. Don't bury the lead. We claimed it yesterday. We were Nostra Darian and Nostra Bryant yesterday.
Right. And we kind of talked about, if you're the Tigers, you got to start off fast. You got to punch this UConn team in the mouth early, because they're not going to be used to your athleticism. They're not going to be used to your physicality. They're not going to be used to what kind of team you are, because kind of two reasons, I think. One, UConn hadn't before yesterday played a top 300 opponent on KenPom. Now, they can get away with that. UConn's going to be fine, right?
They thought they could get away with that.
They thought they could get away, and I still think they can, because, look, you look at the rest of their schedule, and I'm trying to see if I can pull it up real quick, because they have a very tough schedule the rest of the way. So they lose yesterday to Memphis. Now they'll play Colorado today. We'll see who they play tomorrow. After that, Maryland Eastern Shore, another team outside of the top 300. They're 359 right now in KenPom. Really bad team. But listen to this. After that game's over, Baylor at home, Texas on the road, Gonzaga semi-home. So they're probably, I don't know where exactly that game's going to be played at, but some sort of NBA arena. Xavier at home, Butler on the road, DePaul on the road, and then you're now already in Big East play, and we know kind of the type of teams you're going to see in Big East play. You're going to see some good teams. You're going to be in some good games, but the fact that they go and see Baylor, Texas, Gonzaga in a 3-game stretch, on top of playing Maui, you can get away with the rest of your non-conference games kind of being sub 300 teams. It's okay. You're going to get away with that. You're in a great basketball conference. Your resume is going to be fine. You're also UConn. Your resume is going to be fine.
Should have did it early before they faced the Tigers.
Should have
gotten themselves ready.
Maybe you should have at least played a top 300 team. Maybe,
because it seems like with a schedule like that, it seems like, and the coaches said, it's like, hey, let's go play the tournament. The tournament is what it is. Then the rev up, because with you still playing, subpar 300 teams, the rev up is kind of still coming. So, and I guess they can afford that, being defending champs.
Yeah. So Tigers come out and look really good, and especially early, they play well. They've got a lead. Then UConn calls a couple timeouts throughout that first half. They start making adjustments. They come back. They punch Memphis in the mouth. And that's where that was kind of the first, hey, I want to see how this Tiger team reacts once they get to this point. Because it's one thing to go out and punch UConn early. It's one thing to be punched by UConn early. It's another thing when you throw the first punch and then they come back with a couple combos.
And you continue to jab.
And how do you respond? And they responded really well. Game's tied at halftime. They come out in the second half. What have we seen all year, Darren? All year, please. I mean, we're still in the first month of the season. What have we seen through the first 4 games of the year?
Yes.
It is second half team looks like a completely different team and a way better team than what they look like in the first half. And so I was curious, okay, this is the real test. That was kind of the second thing I was waiting for, is how do they come out of halftime? Because I know Dan Hurley's a good coach. I know he's going to go in there and make adjustments and do this. Look, they're doing this. We got to do X, Y, Z. And they came out. Tigers go on a run. Tigers get up. They're up double digits. And here comes UConn late in that game. I think they were up. Memphis was up 12 with about 3:15 or so left in the game.
And that lead shrank. Woo. I mean, and the way it shrank, that I forget the left-handed guy that hit the I guess the wing three after the guy penetrated. I was like, shoot it.
Yeah.
But well-coached team knows, hey, we need a three. That was the first thing. I was like, that's a well-coached team. He did not shoot the wide open 2-pointer. Neither did we give the foul, but neither near here nor there. But the left-handed guy hits that three, and it gave me Mario Chalmers.
Solo ball. Yeah.
It felt like Mario Chalmers, dude. I was like, there's the Kansas shot all over again.
Yeah, I sent in a group chat after Solo Ball hit that shot. Solo Balling.
Ball. His last name was Ball.
So
Correct.
I called him Balling because he hit that shot. But no, I mean, it was multiple big shots by this UConn team. I really like the kid Liam McNeely that they have. He had 10 points in that game last night, but hit a big time, mid-court logo three late in that second half. That when he hit that, I was like, oh no, here we go.
It felt like the way we normally lose.
Alex Caravan hit some big shots late. He's the guy that we talked about yesterday. Came back to UConn, could have been a draft pick. Ended up coming back and trying to run it back with UConn. It got a little tense late in the second half when at one point it was Samson Johnson, big man for UConn. Him and Musa were kind of going back and forth a lot during the game, and I forgot. I guess Memphis scored. I don't remember exactly what happened. Memphis scored, and he turns around and just pushes Musa to the ground.
Yeah, when the double text happened.
Double text. Okay. So a lot of technicals in this game. I mean, so first let's go back.
And some not given.
Well, maybe. In the first half, I mean, Dan Hurley was losing his mind the entire game. I mean, it was classic Dan Hurley, which really doesn't bother me that much.
But the world is blaming his antics on losing the game, though.
When you're going so hard at an official and you're, calling him names and stuff like that, maybe don't do that. I love the passion he coaches with. I love the fiery, nature he has. But let's ease up a little bit. I didn't love some of his comments during or after the game yesterday, but so he's going at one of the officials.
Walked across the court. Paint that picture. I mean, walked across.
Well, no, this was in the first half.
Oh, the first half. Okay.
He was just every single time. I mean, just arguing fouls, was just frustrated as all get out. And they go to a commercial break. They come back. Memphis is at the line shooting free throws. And you're going, what happened? I guess Dan Hurley got a tech. No. Dan Hurley does not receive technicals. It was one of his assistants that got hit with a tech. So it was one of those, you're doing all the barking, but I'm not going to give you a technical. Hey, assistant.
I mean,
got it.
He's entitled to it. Two back-to-back championships.
I guess so.
If Penn were, we'd allow it. We'd allow it.
I guess so. But so then in the second half, you've got the play where Johnson pushes Musa down, and then Danger steps in, which love to see that. First off, love seeing him stepping up for his guys, especially a guy that we haven't even mentioned it yet. Danger off the bench again for a second game. Who's starting in place of him? It's Musa Cisse. So this is not only your teammate, it's the guy that's taking minutes from you and is starting over you. But Danger is not going to let that fly, so he gets in his face. They end up giving double technicals on both those guys. And then towards the end of regulation, Nicholas Jourdain fouls out with about 3 minutes left-ish, somewhere around there. He fouls out. And then really late in the second half, P.J. Haggerty, who played well, 22 points. He
still was player of the game, even though he fouled out.
I don't know if I would say that because his cohort, Tyrese Hunter, who we will talk about in a second, was insane. I mean, maybe co-players of the game, I'll give that, but we cannot overstate what Tyrese Hunter did and what some of those other guys did. We'll get to that in a second as well. But P.J. Haggerty fouled out, and P.J. Haggerty, I mean, you just saw what he brings to the table shine in that game last night, because late down the stretch when UConn needed to get stops, needed to get the ball back, what is P.J. Haggerty doing? He's taking that ball to the rim. He's drawing fouls. He's one of the best in the country.
A little mid-range action going on, too.
He's one of the best in the country at drawing fouls, and so he's just trying to get to the hoop And, I mean, some of those, you see him contorting in the air and trying to draw that contact so he can get to the line. He's just so good at it. Finished with 22 points, 11 for 14 from the free throw line. The Tigers as a team shot 40 free throws yesterday. He shot 14 of them.
That's how you do it, man.
So he was getting to the line, but he fouls out. And then you had the big shot, solo ball, hits it. We can go back and forth all day long about do you foul, foul or not to foul. Yeah. I think in that situation, you should have fouled.
You should have, and you had that opportunity when he penetrated.
Yeah, but, you mentioned the guy. I mean, he's right there in the lane. Yeah. Foul him, send him to the line. You walk out of there in regulation, but whatever. They don't foul. Solo ball hits the 3 ball, and we go to overtime. And overtime was
and
crazy.
At this point, UConn has all the momentum.
Oh, all the momentum.
All the momentum. It feels like danger time, man.
All the momentum, and I was talking. Brett and I were talking about it yesterday afternoon. Once the game was actually done, I don't think there's many people watching that game, whether they're Tiger fans, UConn fans, just basketball fans in general. I don't think there were many fans out there, many people watching that game yesterday that thought, "Oh yeah, Memphis is gonna win this game."
No. In all honesty, no.
I mean, you have the back-to-back defending champs, the number 2 team in the country.
The way they just came back,
all the way. They forced overtime. Now, Dan Hurley is screaming. Now, I've seen some people saying he was screaming at Penny after the end of regulation.
It looks like the bench. I thought it was more or less the bench.
I think he was yelling at the officials because let me paint the picture for you. All game he's been going at the officials. He hates these officials. He got hit with the technical in overtime. We'll get to that in a second. But he does not like these officials at all. So his team, he has blamed the officials all game long that his team is losing. And his team fights back despite the officials. This isn't his. I'm not saying that someone's going to come out and say, well, Brian's saying that the officials are bad.
Nope, he's painting. Brian's painting a picture.
I am talking in place. I am Dan Hurley right now. He's been blaming the officials all game long. The officials are the reason his team is losing. His team, despite the bad calls by the officials, have fought back and tied this game and gone to overtime. Who's he yelling at? Why would he be yelling at Penny? Him and Penny have a lot of respect for each other. They've played each other multiple times in the past. They respect each other. He's yelling at the officials. He's going, yeah, we did that. We did that to the officials. What a lunatic. I do like Dan Hurley, but what a lunatic.
He's a Yankee, man.
He sure is.
He's a Yankee.
So we go to overtime, and, back and forth. I would be mad if we did not mention the minutes P.J. Carter gave the Tigers in overtime. 9 points. First off, only 2 guys scored in overtime. Colby Rogers had 8 points. Really good. He's 3 for 4 from the field in overtime. Knocked down a big-time triple. And then it was P.J. Carter, a guy who, in these first 5 games, his playing time has been very sporadic.
Little spot minutes here and there.
Come in. It feels like, to me, the idea is you send P.J. in there. If he knocks down a shot, if he goes in, hits a shot, keep riding him. If not, let's give him a couple minutes, get him out, right? And in overtime, you have to rely on him because Haggerty is fouled out. You got to have a guy out there. P.J. Carter can bring the ball up. He can, do a couple of different things. And so you put him out there. He knocks down a massive 3 in that overtime. And then what does he do? He goes 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Huge. I mean, this guy, P.J. Carter, comes in. Probably when you look at this roster and the guys that Penny Hardaway added, P.J. Carter, probably the least hyped guy that was
fair enough
addition this offseason.
Yep, fair enough.
Came from UTSA, a guy that, a lot of people, I don't really remember much of UTSA. I didn't watch much UTSA last year, but comes in and in the brightest lights so far of the season, when you need someone to knock down free throws, in a team that history has been made of missing
Darius
free throws.
Washington.
Yes.
Let's say it. Darius Washington. The championship game versus Kansas. Those are the things that have hindered us all our lives, and we saw us exercise those demons last night.
P.J. Carter steps up and knocks down 6 free throws in overtime. Now, Dan Hurley helped out a little bit. So there was a play, and P.J. Carter was involved in this play. P.J. Carter, who, a guard, not the tallest guy in the building. He is right there under the basket. UConn puts up a shot, and this would have tied the game. It misses. Liam McNeely, their star freshman, jumps up and over P.J. Carter to grab the rebound, grabs it, yanks it back, comes down, goes right back up. The whistle had blown. He missed the layup. I don't know if it had been a continuation, if he would have made it, or if, because, did he hear the whistle and go up stronger or whatever. But he misses the layup. There was a foul called. They called him for an over the back, and P.J. Carter's going up to the line. Well, at this point, Dan Hurley is livid, and he is young. You can see him mouthing, "You're a effing joke. You are an effing joke," just over and over again to the official. Well, finally, one of the officials had enough, said, "Tee him up, Hurley, you got it." P.J. Carter goes up to the line.
And that was part of his 6 free throws, right?
He knocks down 4 free throws. Actually, yeah, I believe he shot all 4 of those free throws. And, that was the difference maker, because now instead of being a 2-point game or whatever it might be, you have a 4-point lead, and, you're feeling really, really good if you're the Tigers. And ultimately, they were able to. It kind of same thing played out in that overtime where Tigers are up by 3. UConn has the ball with 8 or 9 seconds. They're dribbling it up the court, and I'm going foul, 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 foul,
yes.
foul, foul, foul.
Please foul.
And I think P.J. Carter ended up fouling, but he was not. It wasn't a foul like, hey, we got to foul him. He was just going for the ball.
Initially, the broadcasters called it an offensive foul. They were like, "Oh, is this an offensive foul?"
Oh, wow.
Maybe they thought his arm or something came up. The refs kind of deliberated, but then normal foul. So
yeah. Well, and then you had kind of the scare, which I didn't see it until they played the replay. But I think Memphis up maybe 2. Maybe tied game. I don't remember. And Kobe Rogers has the ball, and he's looking around and elbow.
I think that was
catches.
it, because didn't they call something on there? That was the one where I'm talking about the arms, where they called it possibly offensive.
Right. And they were thinking maybe he threw that elbow, and I think it might have been solo ball that he threw the elbow at. But ultimately they said cylinder foul. He was.
I think they went and reviewed that, didn't they? Because they went to commercial break, I believe, right after. Okay,
they did. They reviewed that, and so some wild calls, some Dan Hurley not pleased at the officials after the game. He even doubled down on his disdain for the officials, saying that he didn't even know one of them was an official, a college ref, and that the other 2 he's dealt with in the past, so it didn't surprise him of how bad the calls were. He tried to explain Liam McNeely and why it wasn't a foul, and just not a great look. I think, when you're Dan Hurley and you're a back-to-back national champion and you have your guys in a big spot like this, and this team is different. We talked about it yesterday. This team is different from the team he's had the last 2 years. This is a team that added a lot of transfers, relying on some freshman play. Now, they relied on some freshman play last year as well, but a lot more, you look at it. Alex Caravan came back from last year's team, but, Aiden Mahaney, who had 6 points in that game, he's a transfer. Liam McNeely is a freshman. Terrence Reed, who looked really good, a guy that Memphis was in on a little bit in the offseason, a guy that came over from Michigan, ended up at UConn. That battle all night, I forgot to mention this earlier. Terrence Reed, who came from Michigan, now at UConn, against Dane Danger, who came from Illinois and is now at Memphis. So 2 former Big Ten guys. Them going back and forth early in that game was fun to watch. I mean, it was get it down to Terrence Reed. He's going to make a move. He'll go up.
It was big boy basketball, man.
Get it to Danger. He's going to make a move and get a bucket. So that was fun. But this is a newer team, a different looking team. When you're Dan Hurley in that spot, you cannot let your emotions get the best of you, and he did yesterday. And
because they were running their stuff too. Like this was not. How can we say it? This was not a bad day by UConn.
No.
By the numbers.
No, Memphis beat them. I mean,
Memphis
it was not
them.
like an off day for UConn.
Correct, because the Huskies, they out-rebounded us, but like you said, we got to the line 40 times. We shot 72.5%. UConn shot 79%, but only on 24 free throws. And the 3-ball was dropping, dude. 54.5% versus 46. I mean, you kind of don't like the 46 on the other side, but when you're going to go 12 for 22 on your side, you kind of deal with it. And from just a field goal percentage standpoint, 49 versus 54.
Yeah.
The Tigers beat UConn.
Yeah.
UConn did not give this away.
Yeah.
And it's especially when you go down the stretch, up by 10 to 12, and the bolts tightened.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they did. UConn tightened up on us. They started picking up 3/4 court. You can see the ball. When we were at half court, we got trapped and we threw the ball toward our bench at one point. It was one of those old crap, and it went out of bounds. It was like, this is how we lose, dude. But man, shout out to the guys, man, riding the ship. They held it tight, man. When the big boys came for us, we stood up. So
it was impressive, and just kind of the fact of how many different guys played vital roles. We haven't even mentioned Tyrese Hunter. 26 points last night, 7 for 10 from 3.
He played with a smile on his face.
Him and Colby Rogers, listen to this. Colby Rogers and Tyrese Hunter combined 10 for 16 from 3. That's incredible. I mean, that is good shooting. Colby Rogers, 3 for 6, 50%. Tyrese Hunter, just, unconscious out there, 7 for 10 from 3. He was awesome yesterday. I mean, it felt like, and it feels like this team, and we talked about it yesterday afternoon, you have 2 guards that you can just give them the ball and say, hey, go get me a bucket, and they can go get you a bucket. Haggerty can either get to the line or get a bucket. Hunter can knock down threes. He can drive to the rim. He can get a bucket. A lot of teams need one of those players. Memphis has 2, and I think, and I said this yesterday, I think, and obviously, long season, a lot still to happen. But what I think is more impressive about these 2 guys is I've heard so many people, and I've even done it, compare P.J. Haggerty to Kendrick Davis. And I think even, and I don't remember who I heard this from, but, even this kind of similarities, P.J. Haggerty is from Houston, and Kendrick Davis from Houston, and I think at one point in an interview or something, P.J. Haggerty said, when Kendrick was coming up and when he was in high school, he was a big deal, and he goes to TCU, and I was watching him, I was paying attention, I was trying to learn from his game, and you see a lot of it, that kind of foul drawing and stuff like that.
There you go. I was waiting on you to say that earlier when you were describing it, when you were using the words twitchy and all this. I wanted to say it sounded just like Kendrick. So it's amazing that you doubled back and came back to that.
And so, but I think the difference is you had 2 go-to guys with Kendrick. It was Kendrick and DeAndre. But the difference is, also, I should say another similarity, P.J. Haggerty started at TCU. And so he redshirted at TCU and then went to Tulsa and now is at Memphis. So both guys from Houston, both guys went to TCU, and now both guys are at Memphis. So a lot of similarities there between the 2. But the difference, I think, and what I think is more impressive, is Kendrick had DeAndre. DeAndre was big. You could, you worked off each other on the pick and rolls. When 1-8, you were pretty much both eating, because if DeAndre was getting a basket, 9 times out of 10, it was an assist from Kendrick. If Kendrick was getting to the rack, a lot of times it was off of a screen from DeAndre. They worked well. It's a tale as old as time. A guard and big working together.
Penny and Shaq.
Exactly. Yeah, Kobe and Shaq. I mean, Shaq is used in a lot of them, right? But, you see that a lot. And the difference now is these are 2 guards. 2 guys that want the ball in their hands. It's the stereotype. The guards want the ball in their hands. They want to take all the shots. Whatever. And also, it's one guy that came from starting his career at Iowa State and then went to Texas, and Tyrese Hunter. So he's been at some big-time programs. And it's a guy in P.J. Haggerty that was one of the best freshmen in the country last year and had a ton of offers when he entered the transfer portal. So egos could be very high with these 2 guys. It would be easy for these 2 guys to say, I don't want to share the ball with you. But they're doing it. They want to see each other eat. This team feels like it has a ton of chemistry, more chemistry than we've seen in a while, and it's fun to watch. They play a fun brand of basketball.
You know what you just described?
What's that?
Final 4 guards.
Yeah.
That's what you just described.
These 2 guys are elite. They are elite guards.
They are Final 4 guards. And just to piggyback on the broadcast after the game, Seth Greenberg, he gives Memphis their credit. Former Virginia Tech coach.
Yeah.
Yesterday he says the Tigers got dogs. That was the
Yeah.
word that was used
They
around
do.
the country. They got dogs. And one quick trivia question for you.
Okay. Oh, geez.
You think the Tigers are still leading the NCAA in 3-point shooting?
They're not. They're second.
There you go, baby.
I don't know who they're behind.
Houston. They're
Really?
behind Houston right now. So the point being is you don't have to be number one, but apparently this is not a fluke. This is starting to look like a trend. You know, how many games are we at? 5 games, shooting 47.9% from three land. Good for second in the nation.
Yeah.
If they can keep that up, my goodness.
And who said it? Who said it before when everyone had the questions? Penny Hardaway said, we're going to be fine shooting the ball. We shoot more shots throughout the week than anybody in the country. The shooting is fine.
It has not fallen off, people. So I know you're not hearing the Tigers are leading the nation in 3-point shooting, but guess what? They're second.
It's impressive. It's really impressive. But no, really good win for the Tigers. Now today they'll take on Michigan State, 5 o'clock on ESPN.
The Fighting Tom Izzo.
Tom Izzo. So, you've got a Hall of Fame coach on that side. I don't think it's a Hall of Fame team that he has this year. But
No Draymonds, no Jaren
no.
Jacksons, no Mo Pete's out there, no Mateen Cleaves, I don't believe.
No. Now they did ask Jaren last night after the Grizzlies game, which Grizzlies got a big win. John Morant returned, looked great, had that big dunk in the first half. Really fun to watch last night.
Off the cryptic, doubtful.
Yeah.
I've been getting schooled on that lately.
If you're questionable, you're playing. Yeah.
My man Matt Matt Infield. Matt gave me a lot of insight to say, hey, D, doubtful, look for Ja tonight.
Yeah. So, no, he played. He looked good. But they asked Jaren after the game, you now play in Memphis. You're around, I'm sure, a lot of the guys that play for Memphis. They're going up against your former school, Michigan State. Who you gonna be pulling for? And he goes, oh, no question about it. I'm, Spartans. Like, what kind of question is that? And so, that'll be fun, I'm sure, today for Jaren to, watch his, guys that he's familiar with that play in the same arena as him, and then guys that he's very familiar with being at his old school.
He's not that far removed where he still doesn't know. After you get maybe 10 years in the league, it's kind of like, I don't know these young guys, but let me support them. So back to your point, maybe he still knows a sophomore or junior that was like a few years back behind. Because Jaren's 5 in the league this year, 5, something like that.
Tough. You probably don't know anybody on the roster, but as long as Izzo's there, there's that strong connection between former players.
I want to slander Izzo.
You want to slander?
I want to slander Izzo. He's still living off this one championship.
Wow.
Let's go Tigers. That's all.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We're going to talk. We need to get to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about today's game. We'll preview that. We'll talk about everything else that happened in Maui because it really was a fun day. I mean, the games, the Memphis kind of started, got everybody ready for the rest of the day. In Maui, we had a massive game between Auburn and Iowa State. How was that a first-round game in Maui? I still don't understand. Then we had Dayton in North Carolina, where North Carolina comes back from trailing 21 points. Darian, I committed the cardinal sin of basketball last night. I fell asleep. When Dayton was up, I said, okay, I'm going to bed. Congratulations, Dayton.
And you woke up and what happened?
I woke up groggy. I was like, I'm looking at my phone. It's like, what a performance by UConn last night. I was like, what are you talking about? What happened? They won. How about that? So we'll talk more about what happened in Maui. We'll talk a little bit more about the Grizzlies and their win last night over Portland. We'll do that next on Wolo and Friends.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no-obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Hey fellas, it's Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Jewelers, and this year it happened on October the 21st. My first gentleman came in the store and asked me what he should get his wife for Christmas. My answer was get her what she will enjoy and something she will love. Think about what she likes. You might even ask her what she wants. Then, come into Russell Brothers and let us show you the finest, most beautiful jewelry in Memphis. Folks, this will be our 40th Christmas, and many of our customers have been with us for all 40 of those years. They come looking for fine jewelry that makes a lady's eyes dance, but they also know that they will receive quality, value, and service that is unsurpassed in Memphis. And at Russell Brothers, you can play St. Nick knowing that if you don't make the right choice, our money-back guarantee will allow her the ability to exchange her gift for one that she really does love, or she gets your money back. For 5 decades, we've helped thousands of Mid-South Sammers, and we'd love to help you. Russell Brothers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
What a great time of year. Football, basketball, baseball, golf, and home sales. Home sales? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensworth Realtors. And why did I throw in home sales at this time of year? Because I have sold homes on the day before Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day. Whether it's someone transferring in through a relocation network or someone just starting their home search, homes sell all year long, just like my golf game being bad all year long. I may be called Mr. Three-Putt, but at least I'm consistent. If you or someone you know is thinking of selling, make sure and talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Find out how my highly successful strategic marketing program can get the winning score you need. Call me and find out why people often say when you want the job done, oh, Shell done. 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Go for that goal and call me. Shell Dunn at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-611-7272. 800-611-7272.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer dock fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Silverado RG 355,553, MSRP 57,330, dealer discount 4,002. Sierra RZ 325,360, MSRP 54,330, dealer discount 4,000, expires 12/2/24.
Welcome back into Wolo and Friends. Brian Darian with you as we got a little less than 30 minutes in today's show. We're going to talk a little bit more about Maui Tigers back in action today against Michigan State. We did get a text to the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. Remember, you can be a part of the show by texting in the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. Let us know your thoughts about today's game for the Tigers against Michigan State. What were you feeling yesterday? Where were you watching? I know they had a watch party yesterday afternoon. Were you there? What were the vibes like while you were watching the game? Hit us up, 901-360-8255. Matt texts in. He says, I didn't catch it, but did he shake his hand and act appropriately after the game? Talking about Dan Hurley, who was losing his ever-loving mind throughout that game, which I said yesterday he would. I said if Memphis punches him in the mouth, it didn't come as early as I thought it would. He kind of kept his cool early, but late in the first half,
Pop goes the weasel.
He sure did. Yes, Matt. So after the game, I'm guessing you're not referring to him and the officials. He did not shake any officials' hands, but I'm guessing you're talking about him and Penny. Yeah, they shook hands. These guys have played each other before. When UConn was in the American, I think 1 year, maybe 2 years, Penny and Dan saw each other in action. These guys have a lot of respect for each other. And so, yeah, after the game, Dan, I think, immediately went towards the official and was yelling at them.
And then he walked back from half court to catch
Penny. He turned around, caught P. They hugged each other. He was talking to him. It looked like he was saying, hey, man, you got a really good team. And they fought because you could see Penny going, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Y'all have got a squad too, whatever. And then even after the game, Dan Hurley, one of the first things he said in his press conference was, that's a top 20 team. That he said, they're very underrated. That is a top 20 team that we just played. Dan Hurley, very respectful of, to Penny. Now, the officials, on the other hand, I should have had you gotten that audio of him after the game, but I don't think he cussed in it, so I don't want to just blindly play it because you never know with Dan Hurley.
He's a Yankee.
Him and Penny were good after the game, and now UConn over to the loser side of the bracket, which is hard to believe now, as well as Iowa State. Which, Darren, look, I didn't make Maui. I'm not in charge of who plays who in the field. I just don't understand. You have 4 ranked teams in Maui, okay? UConn, ranked team, number 2 in the country. You've got North Carolina, who's ranked. You've got Auburn, who is ranked. And you've got Iowa State, who is ranked. 4 teams. There are 8 teams in Maui. Why in the world would you not have UConn, Memphis, North Carolina, Dayton? Those 2 games are fine. Colorado, Iowa State, Michigan State, Auburn.
Yeah.
Why are we putting 2 ranked teams against each other in the first round? Because in my mind, look, I'm glad Memphis won. But if you're just creating this bracket, would you not want the possibility of the winner side of the bracket to have 4 ranked teams in it instead of having 1 ranked team automatically going to the loser side? What are we doing?
Maybe it was actually random.
It might have been. I mean, it'd be crazy if it was, but maybe. And look, it was a great game last night. That Iowa State Auburn game was fantastic. Iowa State gets up big. Here comes Auburn. They come back, tie the game. Late in the game, you have Auburn take a shot to win the game, and Broom gets the rebound and just throws it back up. And it goes in, and he's on his back. And they ended up, Iowa State, had to take a half-court 3 to try to win it.
And I heard my man on Happy Hour yesterday say, slam Auburn. He was like, Iowa State, though, Johnny. Wow. I think when you guys started,
I wasn't listening.
When you guys started, y'all were talking about basketball. He was like, I got to get back into the basketball thing. And he was like, Auburn is gonna kill Iowa State. They only won by 2.
Yeah, so I don't think they covered. I think the line was 4.5. Because Connor, my brother, came in last night to produce the football game last night. He was like, "Yeah, Auburn big tonight." And I was
Have you given out
terrible.
Have you given out the slate today, just in case people are wondering?
No, thank you for that.
UConn and Colorado, 3:30 ESPN 2. Penn
2:30, I believe. I think that's Eastern.
That's Eastern. Okay.
So.
That is. You know what? No. They're correct. Nope. 2:30 our time. Coach Penn and Tom Izzo. I'm a huge coaches match kind of guy.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Penn is going up against a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. This is at 5:00 today. Yep. Then you get Iowa State and Dayton at 7:30 on the U.
Yep.
And Auburn and North Carolina 11 p.m.
Yeah. So
10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 10 o'clock or no, 10 o'clock Central.
10. Yep. 11
Eastern.
10 Central.
Let's talk about this Memphis-Michigan State game for a second. I think Michigan State, I didn't really know what to expect from them kind of coming into the year. I do think they're a better team than I might have given them credit before the season started. But you look at them, they're 4-1, or excuse me, they're 5-1 right now. And the only loss they had was against Kansas. Brett had the nugget yesterday that out of the 8 teams that were in Maui, only 2 teams entered the tournament with a loss, and both of them were to Kansas. It was North Carolina against Kansas, and it was Michigan State against Kansas. Now, if you remember, the Michigan State-Kansas game was a part of the Champions Classic. It came on. You probably forgot it because you probably weren't watching it because you were so excited for the Duke-Kentucky game that was going to be on right after that. And it was a bad game, Kansas and Michigan State. Neither team could hit a shot. Ultimately, Kansas pulled it out, but it was a really close game, 77-69 was the final score. You look at this team, Michigan State does not shoot the three ball well, but they were shooting it well yesterday. They hit some threes yesterday, some big-time threes that really made a difference. I'm trying to pull up the number. I'm sorry, they didn't. I was wrong. They hit 2 threes that were big. They were big, but they were 2 for 21 for 3. This team can't shoot the three ball. And I think Memphis has a big advantage there because, look, hard catch up if you're making a lot of threes and the other team's not making threes and can only make 2s. But this is a team that's going to be physical. They're going to, it's a Tom Izzo team. What do you know about Tom Izzo?
Grit and grind kind of sort of.
He is going to have physical teams that are going to try to get after you. You look at him right now on KenPom, number 11 defense in the country.
That's what he's known for.
How misleading is that? I don't know, because you look at the teams they've played, the wins they have. Now, we already mentioned Kansas was a loss neutral earlier this season. Monmouth, 299. Niagara, 317. Bowling Green, 283. Samford, 135. Colorado, 82. Colorado, they beat down yesterday. I don't think Colorado is a very good team. I think that's a they were good last year. They had some NBA guys on that roster last year. I don't think they're going to be very good this year.
72-56, yeah.
Yeah, that was a beatdown. Samford is, I guess we'll wait and see what they are this year. Last year, they were one of the stories of the year in terms of mid-major basketball with, their coach and buckyball, and they get to the tournament and, should have beat Kansas if I'm not mistaken. I think that was who they played in the first game and ended up, I can't remember. Was there a foul called or there wasn't a foul call? Something happened late in that game that I remember everyone was mad about because Samford should have won the game, and I believe it was over Kansas. Yeah, it was over Kansas. So it was a good team last year. I don't know how good they'll be this year, but they have a couple of nice wins. That Kansas game was really close, but this is a team that Memphis. And it's kind of the same thing we talked about yesterday. UConn came into Maui with a really good defense. But what you learned is, they're fine defensively. They don't have guards that could really handle the quickness and the athleticism of P.J. Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter. But their numbers were a little skewed, and you saw it. The drop it took yesterday went from like number 6 in the country to number 30 in their adjusted defensive efficiency ratings. Because they're playing sub-300 teams all year long. So Michigan State has a much better sample size than what UConn had. So, defensively, they're going to try to get after it. I think it's kind of the same thing. You want to start off hot, try to get those guys going like you got them going yesterday. P.J. Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, get those guys going. I'll be curious. I will assume that Dane Danger is going to come off the bench again. We talked about it yesterday. It feels like one of those things Penny saw, hey, that worked. Let's keep riding it. Now, I don't know, because it was kind of weird when it happened. Nobody really saw it coming when Dane came off the bench, and nobody really got answers to why Dane Danger came off the bench.
Maybe the only thing we can think of, maybe it's to help keep him out of foul trouble.
It could.
You kind of put Moose out there who's more athletic.
It could, but, I think – I don't remember Penny's exact quote about Dane Danger when he was asked why he came off the bench, but he said it was kind of like it was a team thing, and he wasn't going to say anything more than that. So I don't know if it was – disciplinary thing. I don't know, but it's worked.
It's worked. Yep.
Dane has looked really good off the bench, and so I think he'll come off the bench again today. And so, get him going. I've really liked what I've seen these last couple of games from him. I mean, he looks very physical. He looks like a dominant big man that can really overpower pretty much anybody that he's facing.
Speaking of being physical, let me know if you agree with this. Okay. I think Michigan State plays Big Ten ball better than UConn plays Big East style of ball. And by that definitely means more physical,
sure.
The rebounding edge. Michigan State tends to dominate that stat, that stat line. So that's the portion that, kind of should scare you as a Tiger fan, that they're not going to give up on their style of play. It seems like at some point, the Tigers kind of knocked UConn out of what they wanted to do, quote unquote. I think win, lose, or draw, Tom Izzo is going to play Big Ten ball, whether he gets blown out by 20 or he's blowing you out by 20. You're going to have to defend his style of ball.
No, it's a good point. And, I think this is a Michigan State team that right now is averaging 41 rebounds a game, 41.7 rebounds per game. They're only allowing 32 rebounds per game.
They don't. Yeah, Izzo doesn't play that, man.
Yeah, so they're going to be a team that is, crashing the glass. They're going to be getting rebounds. They're going to try to turn that into, advantages on the other side. And, this is also a team that, really doesn't turn the ball over much. 11 and a half turnovers per game. So, we talked about it yesterday, and UConn didn't really turn the ball over yesterday, but we talked about it where UConn was coming in, and Dan Hurley was very frustrated about how many turnovers they had in the game before.
Just 10, and we had a pretty low number compared to their team. We had 13.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a team that is going to try to force turnovers. They're going to try to get points off of those turnovers, and so for the Tigers, it's got to be those big men. I mean, Jordan, Musa, Dane, you've got to be attacking the glass. You've got to get those rebounds.
Outlet passes, baby, from a basketball standpoint, playing the sport. This is where I hope Mike Davis, because I think we asked Matt about the coaching standpoint. He's like, I think the coach. I think having someone like Mike Davis, who's coached in a NCAA championship game, if you recall, I think it was maybe 2002, 3, 4, something like that. Indiana, he had Jarrett Jeffries and took them all the way there. They lost in the championship game. But when you play teams like this, they crash the board, that send 3, 4, 5 guys to the offensive rebound. Once you get that defensive rebound, that's an outlet pass. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, and so we'll see if they can do that. They certainly have the guards that can do that, right? You've got the guards that you really trust to run up and down the floor, and so we'll see what they can do. The game later tonight, 5:00 on ESPN, Memphis versus Michigan State. And we'll see. I mean, Tigers a real opportunity here to be in the championship game at Maui, which would be incredible if they were able to do that. So we'll definitely talk more about that tomorrow. I know John will be talking about it.
I'm excited,
coming up.
I am excited.
We'll be talking about this afternoon. We'll probably be giving updates throughout that last hour when the game starts. Who knows if the game will start on time? Yesterday's second game didn't start. It was supposed to start.
You see those guys having to go back to the bag.
They were ready to get out there. They were itching to get out there. But I think that game. What time was that game? I think that game was supposed to start at 4, and it didn't start till like 5 or 5:30. So who knows? Maybe the game starts at 5. Maybe it starts later. We'll just have to wait and see. But I know it's gonna be a really fun day of Maui hoops. Because
consensus, the nation has been put on alert. I think everyone has been put on alert that this is a good team.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Grizzlies a little bit more. I've been meaning to, but just a lot of talk about Maui and the Tigers. We'll also talk some football news coming out. We had Monday Night Football last night. We also had a firing at a big-time college program. So we'll talk about that a little bit more next on Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Witten Road at I-40. Family and fun come together. Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quirky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and great quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats. MSG, high fructose corn syrup,
decades, America's farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the Farm All, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Well, Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list, from hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farm All that's right for you.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at GaddisJewelers.com and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
That type of morning, baby.
I love this rejoin. It's maybe my favorite rejoin on this station. It's a good
I
song.
like the Queen rejoin.
It's a good one. We've got good rejoins on this station. There's some really good ones that just get me fired up every time I hear them. But
Radio Goo Goo. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Guy.
Yeah. That one's like the alternating. You'll hear it like every third day on Dave's show. I am the one that puts them in. I don't know. The thing is a little inside baseball, I guess. When I put those in, I don't know. Like, all of them have music on them. I can't remember which songs. So like a lot of times I'll try to learn the ones that I like that one. I know the number for that one because I like that one. So I want to put it in, not every day, but almost every day. But there's a lot that I'm like, yeah, I like that one, and then I can't remember what it is, and so it would just be like kind of luck when it plays. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that one because we have a lot of rejoins, I guess. But we got to talk real quickly the Grizzlies and what they did last night. Another win for them. That's 3 straight for the Grizzlies, a win over the Portland Trailblazers. I don't think many people were surprised that they won this game. I mean, this is a Portland team that they blew out in Portland just a couple weeks ago. That was without Ja Morant.
I think the surprise was who played.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be. I mean, as the day went on yesterday, we talked about it yesterday morning, you felt pretty good. It felt like there were a lot of almost cryptic tweets about
that we're learning
that Ja was playing, and we talked about yesterday. He was listed as questionable, and questionable means he's going to play. But even I can't even remember who was tweeting yesterday, but there were some people that would be people that know if Ja Morant's playing or not that were like, can't wait for game time tonight at FedEx Forum, and now you were like, okay, well, that person doesn't usually tweet stuff like that. That must mean something's happening. Ja Morant's going to play. And he looked good. Grizzlies win 123-98. And, you look at that box score. Ja Morant, 22 points and 11 assists in his first game back.
And maybe 6 highlights out of them.
He had a ton of highlights. He also knocked down 2 threes. He was 2 for 3 from behind the arc, which is definitely huge for him.
Could have been a third that half court one that did not count.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Kind of did his job post-up deal that he does.
Jaren, 21 points and 6 rebounds for him. He still looked good. That was kind of a question. We talked to DeMichael yesterday on Sports Time, and I think it's a question that John asked, I think it was Terry Davis yesterday, about, look, we've seen Jaren take over since Ja Morant has been out with injury. With Ja back, how's that going to affect Jaren? Because, you saw a lot of times when Ja was out, it was wherever Jaren is, get him the ball, let him work.
It was alpha Jaren.
Yes, it was. And so how's that going to change when Ja's back? And DeMichael yesterday was like, oh, no, it's not going to change at all. I mean, Jaren's still going to be as aggressive as he's been. He's still going to be a guy that you can just get the ball to, and he'll go get you a bucket. Nothing's going to change. And those guys want each other to do that. Like, I think he said Ja would be mad at Jaren if he took off a little bit or wasn't as aggressive just because he's back.
Yeah, but that's what he's known to do.
Yeah. But he looked good last night. 21 points, like I mentioned, 6 rebounds. Brandon Clark, good game, 11 points, 9 rebounds. And then off the bench, you had 3 guys come off the bench and score in double figures. Santi Aldama, 13 points and 17 rebounds. 17 rebounds.
Best European player? Let's claim it.
I don't know about that. That's maybe. I don't know.
Jokic may have something to say about it.
Yeah, and Luka might have something to say about it too, but he's injured right now. But no, Sonny's been great. He's averaging 12.5 and 7.5 rebounds, 3.4 assists. You had Jay Huff with 12 points off the bench.
Got a reverse Huff last night.
Yeah, you did.
Huff stuff.
Huff stuff. And then Luke Kennard with 11 points off the bench as well. So really good performance by the Grizzlies over Portland.
You know what you missed last night?
What I missed?
Klingon and Edie. We didn't get a chance to see Klingon and Edie here.
Because Edie's out. Yeah,
I think he played in Portland, didn't he?
They played against each other in Portland. But Klingon is also injured.
So he didn't play last night either.
Neither of those guys. I was about to say, because I don't think I saw him. But neither of those guys played last night. So we didn't get to see that matchup at home. But now Grizzlies off today, back at it tomorrow. I didn't realize this, and Terry Davis mentioned it to John yesterday. This week, Thanksgiving week, every day except for Saturday, I believe, if you are a Memphis sports fan, you have some sort of action where your team is playing every day this week except for Saturday. So yesterday we had both Grizzlies and Tigers. Today we have Tigers. Tomorrow we have Tigers and Grizzlies. Thursday on Thanksgiving, you have Tiger football against Tulane. Friday, you've got Grizzlies. Nothing on Saturday, and then Sunday, I believe the Grizzlies play again. So a lot of Tiger action if you're, Memphis action if you're just a Memphis sports fan. It should be fun. But Grizzlies back in action tomorrow night against the Pistons. Real opportunity here. 3 wins in a row. Pick up that 4th one, pick up the 5th one against the Pelicans, and then the Pacers the first day of December. I think a very winnable game. I mean, we could be talking about a really, really nice win streak for this Grizzlies team when they take on
Coach Bickerstaff back in the building.
That's right, yes. So
he's not in Cleveland anymore, peeps. He's in Detroit.
Yeah, so taking over, and they're a better team. They're still
look
not
better, look
still
and
not
feel
a good
better.
team, but they're definitely improving. You can see that night in, night out when they play. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to kind of wrap up the week because no shows on Thanksgiving and then on Friday either. So we'll
Hopefully
be back
we're talking
tomorrow.
about a Izzo loss and a Penn win.
And then we would be talking about the championship game in Maui, including the Tigers. Either way, it's going to be fun because you're going to get a big-time opponent. We were talking about it earlier before the show started. Your present, if you win against Michigan State, is either Auburn or North Carolina. If you lose, your consolation prize is either Auburn or North Carolina. So you're going to get a great game tomorrow no matter what. But hopefully it is a Tiger win over Izzo tonight. That game, 5 o'clock, is at least the scheduled time on ESPN. But that's all the time we have. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Stay tuned, though, because Johnny Radio, he's up next.